This is your macroeconomics video on the financial sector. We're starting Unit 4 of your macroeconomics class, and in this particular unit, we're going to cover the money supply, the central banking system, and international finance. We're going to start off with a little bit of reminders from Unit 3. So the wealth effect. If we start off with the premise that prices have risen while everything else stays the same, including your income, then that means the real wealth or purchasing power that you have goes down because your money won't go as far in purchasing more expensive goods. This will eventually cause consumption to drop. Now, some people still have to buy the exact same amount of goods, you still have to pay the same bills, you still have to buy the same medications. So if the prices are rising, then you're going to need more money to pay for those things. That means that people are going to go to the bank and they're going to take money out of the bank. They're going to take money out of their savings account. They're also going to sell off assets like stocks or bonds. When you remove money from the bank, it's going to cause the interest rate to rise because the bank wants to try to reverse that trend and incentivize people to put money in. Now, when interest rates rise, this makes capital I investment go down. Now, to a foreigner, as prices in the U.S. rise and interest rates also rise, this looks really lucrative for foreigners looking to save their money. So foreigners want to put their money into U.S. savings accounts or buy U.S. government bonds, both of which they'll earn higher interest on. But foreigners have to first convert their foreign currency into U.S. dollars. As they decide to exchange their money into U.S. dollars, the U.S. dollar's demand goes up, which means it appreciates or rises in price. As the US dollar increases in value, the downside is that it causes the US net exports to go down. So while we're selling more stocks and bonds to foreigners, we're selling less American-made goods and services in terms of exports to foreigners. All right, let's start with some new stuff. Total income of people in the whole United States equals the amount of spending that can happen. Now, because of this, when you spend money in one place, it becomes income to a business and then therefore income to the employees at that business. So the income that you have equals your spending, but the spending that you're making also is income to somebody else. And that's because of the circular flow model. So your income can either be spent on consumer spending items or you can save a portion as well. Remember, all of the money that you have has to be either spent or saved. That also means that total spending in the economy is either consumer spending or business spending. So if you add all these things together, it means that savings equals investment spending. So primarily, the money that people put into savings accounts at banks or they save through stocks and bonds at banks is where the money for capital I investment spending comes from. And that's what business spending is. Because the money that is put into savings accounts at banks is then loaned out to people, typically businesses who want to come in and get loans to expand their business. So the amount of savings we have in banks leads to an aggressive amount of investment spending. All right, so let's assume here for a moment that the U.S. exists with no trade partners. So we don't do any trade with foreign countries and you can't move your money from one country to another. So if that's true, the government can also spend or save, but they have to do it within the borders of their own country. Just a reminder that a budget surplus means that the government is bringing in more money than it needs to spend, and therefore they're going to save some money and earn interest on it. This is also referred to as a positive budget balance. And if the budget is balanced, it would mean that the government is spending exactly what they brought in taxes. And then a budget deficit is dis-savings, or spending more than you brought in. This is also referred to as a negative budget balance. So the national savings of the whole country is not just all of the individuals and businesses who have savings accounts, but also the government's savings account. Now, I'm aware that our government doesn't save money very often or have a budget surplus very often, but it does have the power to do that. So national savings would be the amount of disposable income that you have, that you don't use it for consumer spending, plus any positive budget balance from the government.